Good morning, Norman, Oklahoma. Welcome to Countdown to College Game Day, presented by Dr. Pepper. This, the home of the program with the most championships in the history of Big 12 football, but of course, it's a new season. This is a new conference. The Sooners' first SEC opponent is in town. It's Tennessee. The last time the Vols took down the Sooners was 1939, so it's been a minute. We'll get you ready for that matchup and every single thing that's going on this day in college football.
Oh, you hear that?
Okay.
SEC.
They're ready. The Sooners are ready. Can I get a boomer? That's right. We got Stanford Steve here, Harry Lyles Jr. I'm Christine Williamson. So excited to get you ready for the college football Saturday. But first, Norman, I mean, you guys.
Showing out.
They're showing out.
Great crowd, right?
Yeah.
Give yourselves a round of applause.
It's going to be a good one. Okay, so this is the fifth meeting between these two teams. Tennessee has only won once. I mentioned it. It was 1939 in the Orange Bowl. The most recent issue for the Vols is they can't beat top 15 teams. Correct. Lyles, obviously, this is their first matchup in the SEC.
Yes.
Why is it so hard to win in this conference?
Look, I know we all laugh about it just means more. It genuinely means more. College football is a part of the fabric of society in the Southeastern Conference, and a lot of people have asked, well, how is Texas, how is Oklahoma going to fit into that? You look at this crowd out here, you guys fit right in, don't you? They fit right in.
Okay, so one thing that we know about Brent Venables, I'm a Clemson gal, love him. Big defensive guy, right? Obviously, that's been one of the biggest things to change here in Norman. What have you liked about what Venables has done so far?
I mean, recruiting, he's got playmakers at every level. When you look at what he's got, Dominic in the transfer portal up front, obviously Danny Stutzman, everybody's favorite, is the quarterback in the middle. And then Billy Bowman's an ultimate game changer in the secondary, quarterback of the secondary, getting everybody on the same page. They need those guys. They're stars to play great today. With this atmosphere, the way the crowd's going to be, how Venables has turned this, and Oklahoma's been offense, right? Forever. Now they pride themselves on defense. They need that defense. With the injuries on the offensive line they've had so far this year, they need that defense to be prompt tonight.
I mean, he says that Oklahoma's been offense, but the Big 12 historically has always been offense. So what have you liked about what Venables has been able to do?
Again, it goes back to what Steve was saying, that transition and being able to play really good defense. I think that's going to help them transition into the SEC. It's almost like an opposite Lincoln Riley, though I think Brent Venables is going to be able to meet that.
Don't say his name.
I know it.
Don't say it.
Brent Venables is going to make that balance even better, and I think they're going to have a lot of success in this conference because of it.
So as we know, you said they're going to have a lot of success in this conference. This is their first matchup in the SEC. Steve, how do you feel like this team fits in this conference?
Oh, it's great. When you talk about the history of the program, national championships, fan base, there are some deep roots here. I mean, look at Coach Venables going back to the national championships.
Right.
You know, you saw the feature on Heupel floating around from 2000 on game day. You know, the defense coordinator is Venables. Old Mark Mangino's the offensive coordinator. Coach Stoops was the head coach, obviously. The roots here and the passion, you can't underestimate what that means. And then to get Tennessee as your first SEC game, you know, everybody talks about how hard their schedule is later on. They don't care about that. They got a home game in the SEC tonight against Tennessee. There's a little history there. There's plenty of play for. And from the pride standpoint that Oklahoma hosts, they've had this one circled because they know what it means to be in the jump starting in the SEC.
I saw a sign out there that said I thought this was Texas. We've been talking so much about the fact that Texas is one of the top teams in the SEC. So how do you feel like Oklahoma will fit in the SEC conference?
To me, when we talk about the two newcomers in Texas and Oklahoma, one of those teams won 6 out of the last 9 Big 12 championships. I think it was you guys, right?
Yeah.
So to me, Oklahoma's coming in much more consistent. Obviously, Texas is up and on the rise.
Yeah.
But when we are talking over the span of years, Oklahoma has been the more consistent team.
Let's talk about the quarterbacks, because the quarterbacks in this matchup are 49 years old if you add both of their ages together, which is great. It's young. How old are you? Should I ask that question?
No.
Is that something you can ask? I know you can't ask women
49.
that, but how do you expect the quarterback matchup to play out today?
I think with Jackson Arnold, the biggest thing is decision making. He has to be great with his decisions, whether it's a third down, whether it's a second down and something breaks down up front. interceptions. You can't have those. You have to keep this crowd invested, knowing what offense the Tennessee offense brings to the table. So decision-making is big. Third down, using his legs. He's the leading rusher on the team. They didn't want that. It's not by design, but broken plays and then added some quarterback runs last week in the win against Tulane, as you see here. It's on his shoulders. He has to be great with his decision-making.
I lied about that age, by the way, but Lyles, you know what I was talking about. So how do you expect this quarterback matchup to play out today?
Look, obviously, Nico's the big name in this game.
However,
yes.
You didn't want to say his last name.
I'm trying not to put respect on the young man's name, Nico I. Look, listen. He is the more talented quarterback in this game, I think. However.
You said you think. You think.
30 seconds out. You got to let me finish. I think that with this Oklahoma defense that we've been talking about, including this crowd.
Exactly. They haven't faced any adversity.
Exactly. You cannot walk into a place like this and just think things are going to be sweet. It's not going to happen. They're not going to allow that to happen.
No.
I like this sign right here. It says, Tennessee ain't worth the hype. Can we see that really fast? That's a really good song. It's a really good sign. Very creative. All right, let's talk about some of the other matchups that are happening and going down in college football this college football Saturday. Oklahoma State, do you guys like them? Okay, just wondering. They're going up against number 12 Utah today. Another team that's making their conference debut is Utah, winners of the final three Pac-12 championship. They're going up against Oklahoma State, as I mentioned. Their style of play worked really well in the Pac-12. Is it going to fit in the Big 12?
Well, it all starts with their quarterback, Cam Rising. They have to have Cam Rising to win this game in Stillwater today. When you look at what Utah has done in the portal, they violated the portal and getting receivers. And when you talk to Utah people before the season, there was the idea that they were going to sling it around this year. Cam having the experience and the age that he has, and the playmakers coming in. But this is a tough task. If they don't, I don't see them winning without Cam Rising. Because on the other side, as everybody wants to talk about Ollie Gordon coming into the season, teams have just stacked the box.
Yep.
He has not gotten able to get off against Arkansas, but that has opened things up in the pass game. Alan Bowman and his experience has been tremendous. He's had really improved in the deep ball accuracy, so they have more balance. It's just we're not seeing the numbers that Ollie Gordon had, which is what I'm going to see against Utah's defense, knowing that they pride themselves.
I love this matchup because it is a matchup between two teams that are extremely glad that Oklahoma's not in the conference anymore. One, because if you're Utah, you might be able to take over the Big 12 now. And if you're Oklahoma State, you are the little brother of all little brothers. Are you not? I mean, you guys have played like 110 times and have won 100 of them. So congratulations to them for that. But again, I think the X factor in this game, Cam Rising's health is still a question.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I mean, if he's healthy, I love this Utah team, which honestly, we've talked about this Utah defense over the last couple of years. They have genuinely been an absolute problem, especially last year. It was just like, holy crap, they can't score 21 points.
Yeah.
So if Cam Rising is even like 75%, I think Utah's in great shape. It's just been such an X factor with them and an unknown that, again, especially after the way Oklahoma State looked last week, I am not nearly as confident in Utah coming into this one as I was prior.
Let's talk about another team that's obviously, as we know, the whole entire college football landscape looks completely different. This is the first week where we really get to see these teams playing in their conference. The first Big Ten game for USC and the first matchup for these two teams since 2007. It's Michigan taking on USC. That was in the Rose Bowl where USC won. It feels a little like these two teams are going in opposite directions. So let's start with USC. Have your expectations changed for this football team at all?
Absolutely. For the people that like to wager on the games, before the season, Michigan was an 8.5-point favorite in this game, and now you see Michigan is now a 4-point underdog. When you look at what USC has done, super big win against LSU to jumpstart this Miller Moss era. Now, first true road start for Miller Moss in that USC offense against, you talked about, Michigan team that's going in the opposite direction that we saw them last year, and that's because of the offense. They had to make the quarterback change, but the defense got lit up by Texas, hasn't been able to shut the door against Fresno and Arkansas State. They need that defense to be the foundation of what they're going to do if they're going to pull this off. They have to make USC one-dimensional, because with that balance in the run game that we didn't think USC was going to have, if they're a balanced offense going to Ann Arbor, they're going to take care of business easily today.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the thing with this USC team, I was one of the few that was kind of like, hey, man, like the critiques of their defense coming in this year were fair because they were that bad last last year.
No doubt.
I loved the way that they made over this defensive staff. Dan Lynn, obviously, the turnaround that he had with that UCLA team last year, but even with Doug Belk coaching their secondaries, I think he's the best secondaries coach in the country. And the thing, Steve, to me that has stood out the most, I'm not a huge tape grinder, right? Because the schematics, like, that's not necessarily my bag.
Yeah.
However, I know good open field tackles when I see them, and guys wrapping up. That has been just such an energy change with this USC program that I really think that we're going to see today, to your point, how the way that this opened up earlier in the season, we're going to see the difference in who Michigan really is and who USC really is. I think this one, I don't know if it'll get ugly, but I think USC is going to win it handily.
Okay, so let's talk about Michigan again, because obviously Steve mentioned the change at quarterback. What are your expectations?
So to me, Steve, tell me if I'm reading this wrong. They decided if we're not going to be able to throw it at all, we're at least going to go with the guy that's got legs.
Correct.
Is that, you feel that?
Makes sense.
I was going to say, all you got to do is think back to what they did at Penn State last year when they ran the ball 32 straight times.
Yeah.
You're going to get that game plan from Sherrone Moore. He called the plays in that game.
Yep.
He was the interim head coach. He's calling the plays now at Michigan. They had no choice.
Yeah.
Davis Warren, 600 interceptions, was careless with the football.
Yep.
Now you bring in Orji. They're not going to throw the ball. Now, the run game is going to be very sophisticated because you're going to add the quarterback run into that.
Yeah.
So can USC mount up for 60 minutes? That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
You talked about their defensive changes, the improvement. Now you got to line up for 60 minutes and buckle it up and prove that you can stop the run on the road in that kind of environment. That's what I'm excited to see about USC today.
It took Michigan 3 games to get their first rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
Do you think that they need to change it at running back as well?
So, Christine, I threw actually a text message from our producer extraordinaire, Chris Colon, in there. He was, I mean, Colon, you basically burned up my phone battery yesterday talking about Michigan, bro, and all the stats. Can you just, I put a snippet of it in there. Can you read that?
By the way, guys, in case you don't know this, Cologne, a Michigan man. Okay, so this is the text. Khalil Mullings is averaging a full yard more before contact and a full 2 yards more after contact, and yet snaps are 97 for Edwards and 63 for Mullings.
So, yeah, they need to make a change of running back. Like Donovan Edwards, you know when Donovan Edwards needs to play? When, like, the fate of the earth is in the balance. Because when the biggest moments show up, Donovan Edwards shows up. He's like, oh, it's my time to shine. Right? Like, if they're not in those situations, for whatever reason, you know, he plays up to the moment. And if the moment's just not, like, that's just how it's been.
Well, this is as big a moment as there is, though, because their season's going down the tubes if they don't win today.
Again, fate of the earth, though, has to be on the line.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Like, let's
didn't
be real.
kind of, I mean, we expected a drop-off for Michigan a little bit.
Yeah.
We expected this to be a rebuilding year, but did we expect it to look like it currently looks?
No, because I thought they were going to be able to rely on that defense. You talk about Will Johnson, top 5 pick in the draft. You got Graham up front. You got Grant up front. You got the transfer Barham from Maryland, who's an All-American linebacker. I thought they were going to be able to rely on their defense to keep them in the game. And they're just on the field the whole first half against Texas, and they got worn down. And Texas took advantage of that because they scored touchdowns when they got in the red zone. Last year in Michigan, you couldn't even get to the red zone. You know? So that idea of not being able to rely on your defense, now that does affect your mindset as an offensive play caller, because now you've got to play catch-up, where they were always, hey, we're going to hold them down. We're going to do what we want, keep the ball away from the other team. It's kind of flipped now. We'll see what happens with Orji at quarterback.
All right, it'll be a good matchup today, that one between SC and Michigan. Stanford Steve, thank you so much for joining us and hanging out for the top of the show.
Love it.
You had fun, right?
Absolutely.
We're a good time.
How is this not fun?
Yeah, exactly. Have a good time.
Come on.
Thanks. We'll see you later. All right, time now for Fansville Advantage, presented by Dr. Pepper. This is when we look ahead to next week. Obviously, there's a huge game next weekend. Carson Beck and the Dogs head to Tuscaloosa for a top 5 matchup against Jalen Milroe and the Tide. The first game in this rivalry for Kalen DeBoer, so it's huge. Guess who we have here now? It is the one, the only, and hot pink. I love this for you.
Panelist.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's true. Oh my gosh, and your lips match your dress. I love it. Okay, so Jen Lada is here. What did you make of Georgia's game last week against Kentucky?
Yeah, Kentucky had a really good game plan, right? The idea was to control the clock, stay on the field as long as possible. I think I saw that a few Georgia defensive linemen were on for 50-plus snaps. So that was a good way to kind of control the tempo of the game. Now, Georgia still didn't allow a touchdown in that one, so obviously it went the way that Georgia wanted. But if you don't think that Kirby Smart was after those guys this week, the tackling by Georgia was unimpressive. I think I saw 15 missed tackles. So there's nothing Kirby Smart likes takes more than a week to really get after his guys. I imagine those practices were real tough. But look, I'm not worried about Georgia. They're one of those teams that sort of starts slow, warms up. You know they'll be there at the end. And Alabama's going to have their hands full with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like we thought that Georgia was just invincible, but we did see that they were human last week.
So the way that I sort of view this, because I'm from Atlanta, I grew up watching every single Georgia game because it was what was on television. The thing with this Georgia team that is different under Kirby Smart than previous regimes, they win these games. Like, this is a game before Kirby, they lose that Kentucky game. Last year, it was the South Carolina game. In 2022, it was the Missouri game. And, I mean, those are still good teams. Every game that you play in the SEC is tough. The difference with this Georgia team is they actually sneak those out now.
Yeah.
Right? Because Kentucky's not a bad football team.
No.
But
They like to run the ball, though, right?
They like
and so
to run
if you're
the ball.
Alabama, Harry, do you see Alabama being like, look, we saw a blueprint for how you can at least threaten Georgia.
Yeah.
That might be something they try to take advantage of.
Absolutely. And look, they're the only team that's been able to get their number. I mean, they got them last year.
Right.
Right? And I still believe, and this is why I think Florida State was such a snub. If we're doing the 4 best teams, you telling me you watched 13 games of Georgia last year and they weren't one of the 4 best teams?
That's true.
You know what I mean? So, look, this Alabama team, I know we have the man here now, right, that is responsible for this incredible dynasty, the greatest dynasty that our sport has ever seen. That is still an incredibly talented team with a very talented and intelligent coach. So I think this matchup is going to be intense.
Let's talk about their receivers, because obviously Alabama churns them out like crazy. Ryan Williams has been huge for them. What have you seen out of him so far?
Oh my gosh. Can we just talk about how this dude is 17 years
I know.
old?
Just got his license. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that, to think about that perspective.
That's actually a crazy thing to think about, yeah.
And just from an emotional maturity standpoint, right? I have a 15-year-old at home, okay? They ain't that emotionally mature. You know what I mean? So, like, the fact that this kid is out there, not just on the top stage, but playing in the SEC and playing well and producing for them and finding the end zone, like every layer of that, guys, you cannot say enough about.
He plays like he's like a 5th year, transferred twice, COVID year. Like, he plays like he is a senior. It's just so impressive. One thing I love about him, absolutely not football related, he lets his 13-year-old sister paint his nails. They're currently green.
I love it.
Because they matched, I believe, some suit he was wearing last week.
Oh, I love that.
So, we've seen players that paint their nails. Caleb Williams, very successful. So, obviously, this young man is in for a great career.
Okay, so let's talk about how hard it is to play in Tuscaloosa, because we've been there before.
Oh, yeah.
We saw Texas, Alabama last year. What do you expect out of the crowd and just the atmosphere that they're going to have to face next week?
Well, it's a night game.
Hey, right. And that makes a world of difference. Like, and it's funny because obviously when we go there for game day, they're used to us being there. They know when they got to conserve their energy.
Right.
They save it for Bryant Denny.
Right.
Like that place is just, it's a different atmosphere. Again, we talked about it earlier in the show. In the SEC, like, this is part of the fabric of your life. If you lose a game, it ruins the rest of your weekend and potentially the rest of your year.
Yeah.
So you're going to see that in the crowd, especially as we renew this rivalry in the regular season, because usually we don't see this until December.
That's true. You almost said it just means more again. What do you expect to see?
I said it on purpose the first time.
He said it already. He almost said it. He said
Hold
that.
the tape back. What are we talking about here?
But big matchup, obviously.
I just assume they want us to say that. It just means more. It just means more. I'm sure Greg Sankey's all like, yes, counting us.
Send a check in the mail.
Counting, exactly. Huge game, obviously. You can't overstate how, and you mentioned it being early in the year. I think there is something about some of these programs where the further along you get in the season, the more you're clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah.
I'm sure these guys would prefer to see each other later on, closer to the SEC title game and whatnot, but like, this is going to be a test for both of them. And I think that Kalen DeBoer, look, we have the utmost respect for him. We saw what he was able to do at Washington. This is a whole new animal, right? Playing in his first SEC game, there's going to be some nerves there, I think. From the coach, from the players, who are going to be handling that. Thankfully, they're at home, so I feel like that gives them a little bit of an advantage there. But, man, buckle up because it'll be a good one.
Yeah, I like that point about the nerves, though, because has there been a more pressure job than following that guy up?
No.
Insane.
I mean, even if you are at home, still, man, that's different.
Yeah, so this will be a true test, obviously, for him and that squad. Dr. Pepper is making college dreams come true with the 2024 Dr. Pepper tuition giveaway. Visit drpeppertuition.com to learn how to enter for a chance to compete to win up to $100,000.
American.
All right, let's check out some of today's Crunch Town players, brought to you by Cheez-It. So today we're going to go with a guy that you guys may or may not have heard of. It is Texas quarterback Arch Manning making his first start tonight against Louisiana Monroe. 4 touchdowns last week. I'm not going to lie, Quinn Ewers looked sick there on the sideline while he was watching this game. But what did we like? He did.
He did.
Well, he did. He did. What did you like last week from Arch?
Look, it's not a shock. But Jen, like the athleticism coming from somebody with the Manning last name on the back of their jersey is just so jarring.
It's not the athleticism exclusively, it's the ability to run like that.
He was running.
Because that's what we always talked about with his uncles, his famous uncles, is that they were a little statuesque, if you will, in the pocket. So the fact that he has that element to his game, I think his dad joked he got it from his mama, which I love it. Score one for the moms out there. But listen, we've been told, guys, there is no quarterback controversy here, right? This is Quinn Ewers' team. He's dealing with an injury right now. What a luxury Texas has to have not only one guy who could be in New York for the Heisman, ceremony later on this year, but another guy up the pipeline. That's what you dream of if you're a fan of college football, if you're a coach of college football, to not have to wonder who that next guy is who can carry the mantle and continue the success. What a great position Texas finds itself in.
I feel like that's actually key, what you just said, because when you think about what happened with FSU last year, obviously they lost their quarterback, and then they didn't go to the CFP for that reason because the backup hadn't been proven yet. So when you see what Arch Manning was able to do with Texas, how important is that when you think about the expanded playoff this season?
Well, just think about getting live game reps for Arch Manning right now, right? Like the general thought was he's going to have to sit, he's going to have to watch. He's taking mental reps, of course, which are invaluable, but nothing compares to the speed of the game, to being out there on the field, going up against a live defense, right? So he can already put that on his resume, and it gives him confidence for when he does finally take over the job officially. Been there, done that. Look how well I did.
Okay, so this is the one thing that a lot of people were saying last week. Obviously, Arch played amazing. It was great to watch. But they were playing UTSA.
Which is fair. However, I will say, Jen, you've been doing this longer than I have, but in my 4 years of sort of doing these team meetings before games and things like that, the one common thread when it comes to improving as a player is you absolutely, even for UGA, you cannot, like game reps means so much more than practice reps.
You can't mimic the speed, the intensity.
You can't mimic that, the energy, everything that comes along with that. So it was UTSA. It's going to be Louisiana Monroe today. Sure, not the greatest competition, but I will say this too. Even for somebody like Arch Manning and Jen, that you probably remember this too. Like we heard a lot last year about how people were trying to make it like, hey, is there going to be a quarterback competition, this, that, and the third. A lot of people that I heard from said, hey man, Arch is not nearly ready enough for this, not for this level of play. And so now as we get into the SEC, and you do see, okay, like when he does get in front of whoever it is, like he should look like that.
Right.
So that is a very promising sign in my opinion.
So do you think that, when Quinn has a rough game, Texas fans are going to be calling for Arch to come out there?
Texas fans will be calling for it if they don't believe their head coach, who continues to say, this is Quinn's team. Again, play the long game, Texas fans, right? Recognize that nobody else is in this position right now, where the guy who will likely take over is getting game reps, regardless of the opposition, right? And that, I just don't think that you can overstate how valuable it is for Texas, which is in a great position. Sark has done amazing things there. I just think, don't create controversy where there isn't controversy, right? Like, ride the wave, Texas fans. Y'all don't need to create chaos.
It might not get better than this.
Right?
Exactly, that's very true.
Do y'all have any of those friends, by the way, who just, create drama?
Oh, for sure.
No, you
don't do that, Texas.
We won't name you, though.
Cut them out. Well, Jen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. You look amazing. This crowd is going to be fantastic.
So good, right?
I've already seen some Ben signs out there. All of a sudden, Ben is more famous than all of us. It's incredible. It's amazing. So have a great day, guys.
Well, enjoy the day. Have a great show.
Appreciate you.
Can't wait to watch you.
Stay cool. It's going to get warm.
Yeah, it is. It feels good right now, though. All right, let's talk about some other games that are happening on this college football Saturday, starting with NC State taking on Clemson, who's number 21, by the way.
Oh boy, Christine, this is a doozy of the game. Grayson McCall not healthy. CJ Bailey's going to be starting for NC State, but Clemson, you got your ran by Georgia, but then you ran App State 66-20. What team are you? We are going to find that out today. I think it's obviously going to be somewhere in the middle, though. I think this one can end up being tight still.
Okay.
I still have questions about Clemson.
I mean, we have a lot of questions about the ACC.
Their defense is not what it was.
What'd you say? Sorry.
Their defense is not what it used to be.
Exactly, because Brent Venables is in Oklahoma and not in Clemson. All right. right, the Bruins looking to bounce back after last week. A tough task ahead on the road at LSU.
Oh, it's certainly a tough task. Look, if you would have told me UCLA was going to the Big Ten and then lose that first game against Indiana, 42-13, I would have said you're crazy. I don't think that this week is going to be much better for them.
That's rough. That's rough. All right, another team out west, Cal, will be headed to Florida State, which, I mean, Florida State.
Okay,
Florida State, look at the bags on their head there.
Right,
and
you mentioned Cal going to Florida State, and I understand that is a long trip. However, California just did this. They went out to Auburn, Alabama, and beat them 21-14. They're doing that this week against a Florida State team that Christine Williamson, you will be shocked, through 3 games, has not shown us that they are good at doing anything. So until they show me that, I am going to go with Cal Golden Bears here.
It's been absolutely unfortunate what we've seen happen.
You don't hate it.
State.
Clemson,
I don't hate
Miami,
it. I'm just saying,
you know what I mean?
I'm just saying it has been very unfortunate to watch FSU turn into the team that they have been this year. Okay, so the Sickos Committee game of the week, Florida favored on the road against the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
The Dan Mullen Bowl. You know, I really hope Florida just shows us something here for Reva. We love you, Reva. Look, that Florida defense has to be better today.
Yeah.
My goodness gracious, they were atrocious last week. I think they'll show us something, but Mississippi State coming off of a 24-point loss to Toledo. I don't know that there is a matchup. We will see a matchup this year that both teams in the same game need it so desperately than this one.
Florida needs it mostly for their head coach.
And I think they will get it.
You think Florida will get this one?
I think Florida's going to get this one, yes. They're too talented. I know things have not been going well for them. I still believe in that coaching staff. Billy Napier ran into this job when one of your biggest rivals, I don't know I think they say Florida State's their biggest rival, but Georgia lost 2 games the last 3 years, which is pretty unprecedented. We've only seen Alabama do that as well.
Right.
And then last year, obviously, Florida State going undefeated now, them being 0-3 and stinking up the joint has helped them this year. But it's just been a series of just, it seems like a lot of small things going wrong there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've heard the rumors that they've already pulled the money together for the buyout, and now it feels like just a matter of time, whether that is after this Saturday or perhaps next, who knows. It's just, I still think Billy Napier and the staff, they're good coaches. Yeah. This one just didn't work out.
How appealing is that job at Florida?
Right now, I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
But and this is obviously the message board hope, the Florida fans' hope. I think the one person that could fix this and fix it quick is Lane Kiffin.
That's very true, and he would bring some excitement to that program a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like they're defeated over there in Gainesville. I don't know why they're singing Country Roads because we're in Oklahoma, but that's a little weird. All right, let's talk about one more matchup that we have going down today.
Yes.
Georgia Tech taking on Louisville. That is at 3:30 p.m. today on ESPN2, and we're going to talk about that matchup in a little bit, but this is a big one for that guy. Harry Douglas, a.k.a. HD, a.k.a. 83, 85 here. Louisville adding his jersey to their Ring of Honor.
Boy.
He's going to join, obviously, the best to ever do it for Louisville. HD had just under 3,000 yards and 15 touchdowns in his career for Louisville. And we couldn't be happier for him because he's an absolute bucket.
There we go.
Lyles, I mean, that's your guy.
You guys hear me squeezing into this jersey? 83. Well, we call him 83 because that was his number with the Falcons. I love you, boy.
I can't believe you just got into that.
I sure did.
I mean, you guys heard him.
That was the toughest thing I've done all week, and I slid down a muddy hill. Oh, my gosh.
It's because Lyles has been working out. His arms are a little bit bigger
This is an XL.
than usual. You also, I mean, it's fine. You look great.
Is my tie still
huge? Yeah, this looks like a fit.
Anyway, so am I supposed to give you game analysis right now?
No, we're talking about HD.
We're talking about HD?
Yeah.
Look, as a player, obviously, very complete, great receiver. But I got to tell you, man, as a person, he's a better person than he was a player. And he's a damn good player, obviously, as he's getting his number put in the Ring of Honor at the University of Louisville. Just the things that he did for that university and continues to do, it is the type of person that you want involved at your university. Like, one of the things about college athletics and what makes it so great is the personal connection that you have with it.
Right.
And I think HD has done a very good job of sort of embodying that and embracing Louisville. And in return, obviously, they've embraced him back, which is why he's getting this honor today.
Yeah, for sure. Huge honor for him. We're very happy for him. He's obviously one of the best people that we know, and he got to talk about being inducted. Take a listen.
What's up, everybody? Harry Douglas checking in from the University of Louisville, and today it is going down because I get to be honored and my jersey's going up around this stadium. It's going to be a surreal moment and something that I dreamed about growing up as a kid, but now that dream gets to become a reality, and I can't wait for the moment. I might be a bit emotional, but on this field, we also going to have Georgia Tech coming in here playing number 19, University of Louisville. And looking at this game, and I'll start with Louisville's offense, their quarterback, Tyler Shuck, he's done a tremendous job of, number one, standing in the pocket, even if pressure's coming there, throwing the football down the field, creating those explosive plays. Isaac Brown at the running back position, he's done a phenomenal job as well. Defensively for Louisville, you have Ashton Gelati and also Quincy Riley, the two guys that stand out. It's going to have to be a big day for them because when you look at Georgia Tech and all the things that they pose to an opposing team's defense, you look at shifts, misdirection, quarterback run, motions. You have to make sure you read your keys, stay put, read and react, get downhill, make plays. It's going to be a good one, but I got the Louisville Cards by 7.
Not at all surprised that he chose Louisville because obviously, why would you choose anybody else? But I also just love that we were talking about HD because it's like, hey, how do you feel about this honor? He's like, I love this. I've wanted this since I was a child. Anyways, let's talk about this matchup real quick.
Hey.
He's just he can't stop working. He's
hard worker.
The hardest, probably one of the hardest people,
100%.
working people in this industry for sure. But it'll be great to see him get inducted, and obviously, hopefully, his Cards get to pull off a win for him. By the way, this weekend they're doing a little thing called Hike and Spike. There's also a very important volleyball game tomorrow. Louisville taking on Nebraska. I'll be on the sideline for that one. Just a quick little plug. Okay, let's talk about this matchup. Oklahoma taking on Tennessee. Oklahoma wins this one if...
Oh my gosh, if they can keep up with Tennessee's offense. And that's a big ask, you know. Again, look, I think that this crowd that you're hearing right now is going to have to help them stay in this game. But Chase and Nico, Malieva. I heard it 5 different ways this morning. I really want to make sure I get it right. But if they're able to keep pace, I think that is going to be the key for them because I do think that their defense hopefully will be able to do enough in order to make this stay a game.
Yeah.
Because it could get ugly. It could get ugly quick.
It's just a funny time that we're talking about Oklahoma's defense rather than their offense. I mean, that's what we expected, obviously. But it's just when Venables got here. But it's just very interesting the change that's happened in 3 years. Now Tennessee wins this football game if. Oh
my gosh! If they could get stops on defense, and it might just be one, because Tennessee, you are. I mean, like, I'm joking, but I'm also kind of not joking. Like, if you can just get a stop.
Yeah.
Look, man, when we watch Nico play, he is genuinely, like, we use freak a lot for, like, defensive ends and pass rushers and guys like that. Like, watching this guy sling the football, like, he throws like Joe Milton, but with, like, accuracy. Right? Like, he's got the physique. He's got all of the tools. He's got the mobility. That's why so often when we talk about this Tennessee team, in my eyes, they look like 2022, except with a better quarterback, and they play better defense. And if that is going to be the case, this Tennessee team could make a deep, deep run.
That's a large shoes to fill there.
It is.
Okay, let's get some picks. Oklahoma, Tennessee. Who you got?
I'm going Tennessee.
Okay.
100%.
What's his name?
Malieva. Nico Malieva.
Yeah, you got high hopes for him. I am also going with Tennessee.
You're going with Tennessee?
Or Oklahoma. You know, I used to be an Oklahoma fan, and obviously Brent Venables, that's my guy. How did you used to be an Oklahoma fan? Because I covered the Big 12, and they ran the Big 12. So when I got to ESPN, I was like, oh, I roll with Oklahoma.
All right, well.
I feel like you want to do something?
I mean, look, if I'm wearing 85, our boy's not here today. It's only appropriate in his honor. If I got his jersey on, he's not here. You know what's something he would do, Christine?
What would he do?
He would go jump out in that crowd.
Okay.
I'm going to go jump out in that crowd.
Oh, gosh, I'm nervous. I don't know if y'all saw Harry.
I'm coming.
This week.
Let's go.
He's rolled in mud this week already.
Let's go.
And now he's crowd surfing.
Send me back.
They don't know how to crowd surf. It's totally
Let's go, baby. Oh, my God.
HD, we miss you. Congratulations for everything that you have done.
Let's go.
At Louisville and beyond.
I think I just kicked somebody in the head, Christine.
You next week. You did. I'm not surprised.
Oh, my gosh.
This is great. NBC and ESPN Plus.